US President Donald Trump has once again threatened India with harsh tariffs. He claims India is not only buying Russian oil, but also selling it forward. Trump says if elected, he will substantially raise tariffs on Indian goods in response. India has hit back sharply. The Ministry of External Affairs called the criticism unjustified and unreasonable. Spokesperson Randir Jaiswal said the US had actively encouraged India's Russian oil imports during the early phase of the Ukraine conflict. He added that traditional suppliers had diverted energy exports to Europe, forcing India to find alternatives. India stressed these imports are essential to ensure predictable and affordable energy for its citizens. The government says it will take all necessary steps to protect national interests. Meanwhile, Russia accused the Trump-led U.S. administration of pursuing a neo-colonial policy. Moscow claims Washington is targeting global South countries to maintain its dominance. Now, for this discussion, we are joined by Jaijit Bhattacharya. He's an economist and finance expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, how should India respond economically and diplomatically to Trump's renewed tariff threats, especially considering its energy security needs?
The point from the Indian government side is that one, why are we only focusing on petroleum imports? Second, if it's only about energy imports, then we should look at energy in totality. And the reason why these 2 points are important is because the European Union continues to import from Russia, and they're importing not just natural gas and petroleum oil, but they're also importing other products like nickel and so on and so forth. If you look at pure energy, the US is actually importing 300 tons of uranium, and that's equivalent to 800 million barrels of oil being imported, which is much more than the energy that India is importing. So this discriminatory approach towards geoeconomics, towards sanctions, towards what should be bought from Russia and what should not be bought from Russia at the convenience of US and the convenience of EU is what appears to be a thorn in the flesh for the Indian government because it doesn't sound justified. And the Indian government has a responsibility towards its people. Please do keep in mind that one of the reasons why India had the 1991 financial meltdown was because of the Gulf War, which sent the oil prices shooting high up, which then put the extra pressure on the Indian finances. The Indian government just cannot do it, especially when this kind of a policy does not seem to be a level policy for everybody. It seems to be a cherry picked policy, and that doesn't sound right under any circumstances.
And judges now, President Trump's threats reveal about what do they reveal about the shifting dynamics in U.S.-India relations, according to you? How might they affect the broader Indo-Pacific strategic balance too?
I think the US-India prism, the relationship prism needs to be looked at in a multifaceted manner. There appeared that India and US are moving closer. That appears to be more of US's hedge against China. If we look, since the time the new administration in the US came over, there seems to be a movement or a drift away from India. We see the US administration rewarding the proponents of terrorism, which is Pakistan, equating the perpetrator of terror with the victim of terror, which was India. So saying that Pakistan and India are in the same level, having a different set of rules for India when it comes to what needs can be bought from Russia and what cannot be bought from Russia, especially in the context that there is no sanction per se against purchase of oil from Russia. So it's as per international law that India is purchasing oil from Russia, and India is not purchasing oil from Iran for the same reason that there is a sanction against Iranian oil being purchased. So in this complex prism, if we look at it, there seems to be a deterioration in the ties between US and India. And this will also have an impact on the invisible flows that happen, such as flow of students, which leads to about $10 billion of inflows into US, and many other flows that are happening from India into US. All of that will start getting threatened given the current circumstances. If that continues, and if there is a discriminatory policy against India and a coercion against a sovereign government, there will surely be a deterioration in ties.
And Jayajit, now looking at this shifting US and India relation, could increasing US tariffs on Indian goods significantly disrupt India's export? And what countermeasures can India implement to safeguard its economy?
Again, that's very complex because US is indeed a large market. It's a significant market for India, and therefore trying to find an alternative to the US market in the short run is going to be a challenge. However, India is working very hard in completing its trade deal with EU, which is again about a $20 trillion market. Similarly, it is trying to fashion many more trade deals with other economies, and hopefully that's going to soften the impact of India not being able to access the US market. But having said that, the US has kept out some of the items which are critical for the US. For example, import of barytes, that's very critical for US for drilling oil. And therefore, there is no tariff on export of Indian barytes to US, albeit that may not be the wisest thing to do because India is fast running out of barytes. Similarly, pharma, that's important for the US, that there is no tariff on pharma to keep the cost of pharma low in US in the short run. But again, that might change moving forward. So it's very interesting and complex unfolding that's happening. It is challenging for India. In the medium term, for sure, India will find other markets. The pain will be in the short run, and it will impact thousands of people who will probably end up losing their jobs because of this shift that's going to happen.
Thank you very much, Jayajit Bhattacharya, for joining us today and sharing your insight as an economist and finance